Why do many men live lives that they secretly resent? Right? This is not because they're lazy. It's not because they don't care. It's because they've learned to tolerate the weight of unfulfillment. They tolerate jobs that drain them. Tolerate relationships that numb them. They tolerate distraction, addiction, mediocrity, all while pretending they're fine. Okay, but this is the truth of it. What you tolerate, you endorse. What you put up with, you permit. And what you keep accepting becomes what you believe you deserve. Because see, if you don't draw the line, life will keep handling or handing you more of what drains you, more of what bores you, more of what slowly kills the man you're meant to be. Right? But listen, this is not here all doom and gloom. The moment you stop tolerating the bullshit and what's misaligned, you open the door to everything that is possible. In today's video, I'm going to show you why unfulfillment isn't a sign that you're failing. It's actually a wake-up call. And how tolerating almost good enough will destroy your purpose. And how to finally stop settling and start living like a man who remembers who he is. This is about reclaiming your fire, your truth, your purpose. And it starts the moment you decide, I will no longer tolerate this lie that I am living. Because most men won't let themselves feel this. Right? They might watch half the video, nod along, and then go right back to tolerating life that is slowly killing them. But if you're still here, it means that something inside of you is done. Is done pretending that success equals fulfillment. Done carrying responsibilities that no longer align with your soul. Done being the man everyone expects him to be while quietly dying inside. You're here because something's cracking. Not breaking down, but breaking open. That voice you've been ignoring isn't confusion, it's not weakness, it's truth. And it's asking you the question right now. What have you been tolerating that your soul can no longer carry? Because your purpose won't rise until you stop settling. Your freedom won't come until you stop pretending. And see, the life that you came here to live, it won't begin until you say, enough is enough. So let's go there. Okay? Because you don't get what you want in life. You get what you tolerate. And whatever you keep tolerating, you're choosing, not consciously. Okay? But, by not waking up, not speaking up, not changing direction, you're silently saying, this is what I deserve. And that's the real reason that most men never feel fulfilled. Not because, as I've said, they're lazy or they're broken. It's because they unconsciously trained themselves to settle, to tolerate mediocrity, to accept relationships that feel hollow, to stay in careers that numb them, to pretend everything's all rosy and fine, but deep down they know it's not. Fulfillment isn't, a mystery. It's not some spiritual riddle that you have to solve. It's what happens when you stop settling for less than who you really are. Okay? And you tune into your true nature. Okay? When you're in that place of, tapping into your true nature and purpose, it's not timid, it's not tired, it's not trapped by just getting by. Your true nature is powerful, purposeful, precise, but you can't access it when you're constantly tolerating versions of yourself that were built just to survive. So here's your moment of reckoning. If you're not fulfilled right now, it's because you're living out of alignment with who you actually are. And the longer you tolerate that misalignment, the more you'll convince yourself this is how life's supposed to be. But it's not. This is not how life is. This is how life feels when you abandon your soul. You want fulfillment. You want purpose. Then raise your standards. Because see, the life that you desire is buried under everything that you're just tolerating. Right? And just a few months ago, at the tail end of my lone wolf stage, I looked at my life and I felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness, just flatness. On paper, I'd made it through all the storm, addiction, shame, bankruptcy, prison, paralysis, I'd left it all behind. I was clean, I was stable, I was doing everything I was supposed to do. But underneath it all, it's just low hum of emptiness and I couldn't shake it. I'd gone from chaos to control, from just total self-destruction to a life of doing everything right, but it still didn't feel right. And then it was just over 2 months ago, kids are away to bed, I'm sitting in the kitchen, and I normally do this before I go to sleep, make sure everything's off, make sure things are clean. And I was just scrolling through my phone and I just this big mirror, and I just caught my reflection in the mirror, and I just saw, I'm like, this is a man who's not really actually living. I didn't look like myself, right? And because I wasn't drinking and I wasn't using, I wasn't blowing up my life, I thought everything should be fine, but I was still tolerating boredom. I was still tolerating disconnection, tolerating the fear and self-doubt that had haunted me my whole life. And that scared me more than any rock bottom I ever had, because it wasn't chaos, it was comfort. And comfort is a slow death when your soul is screaming for more. And that night I asked myself a question: why am I scared? And if I wasn't afraid, what would I do? And the answer didn't come from logic, it didn't come from ego, it didn't come from a deeper place. It was just a knowing that I've heard it so many times before. You're meant for more than this. But this time, at the end of it, it's like you're just afraid to claim it. And for me, the more was always YouTube. I'd had my guided visions. I'd seen it, probably about 18 months before at this point. It'd always been a secret dream of mine. But I just never believed I was the kind of man who could make it work. So I never went all in. I never truly committed until that night, because I realised that was my lone wolf stage over. Because fulfillment isn't about chasing more success. It's about tolerating less of my own bullshit. Okay, it's about refusing to live one more day betraying who I was just to protect who I used to be. So that night, I made that commitment. I'm not going to tolerate any more bullshit. I'm going to stop performing. Tonight, I'm going to start creating again, because I know when I feel alive, I'm creating, I'm in flow, I'm loving life. And I didn't have a plan. I didn't have some route to follow. I just said, you know what? I made a decision. And the next day I started, and boom, the rest is history. I'm now 60 videos or maybe more, and I don't know. But listen, bro, I don't know where you're at in your story right now. But if any part of you feels like you've drifted away from who you truly are, this is your moment to come back to that man. Not someday, not when it's convenient, right now. Okay? Because, it's the longer that you let yourself drift, the harder it's going to come back. Okay? Because men don't fail because they don't have a plan. They fail because they don't take the action to make that plan become a reality. So they tolerate tension, tolerate disconnection, they tolerate lives that they don't actually fit the truth of who they are. And the longer you tolerate them, the more numb you become. Right? And this is what's happening underneath it all. Your brain, as I've said, is wired for comfort, not for fulfillment. It just wants what's familiar, what's safe. And even if familiar and safe is miserable. And this is because your nervous system, like, familiar equals safe, even if it's killing you, even if you're miserable. This is why men stay in jobs they hate, in marriages they feel invisible, and identities they no longer fit, because it all feels safe. And it's not because they're broken, it's because your biology is doing exactly what it's trained to do. Keep you inside the known, even at the cost of your purpose, fulfillment, true happiness. And if you look at it from a spiritual lens, and I'm not talking about religion here, I mean soul truth, your essence, that knows when you're off course. See that tension that you feel, that nagging sense, is this all there is to life? There's got to be more. That's your superconscious trying to wake you up. Because your soul doesn't give a shit about comfort zones. It came here for alignment, for truth, for purpose. And when you betray your purpose for too long, you will suffer. Not always with pain, but with flatness, with fog, with emptiness, just that hollow feeling. And that's worse because it creeps in slowly, and if you're not paying attention, that just becomes a norm. And brother, I tell you, this is where you do not want to be. Because what you tolerate, you teach your mind to normalize. You train your system neurologically, emotionally, spiritually, physically, right? And to believe that this is how life is supposed to be. And the longer you live there, the harder it becomes to remember what you actually want and who you came here to be, right? And the science that helps us understand this so that we can move beyond this. Because neuroplasticity, it teaches us your brain has the ability to rewire itself, right? So you're never stuck. You always have the ability to change. Okay, you've just been repeating the same emotional loops and calling them reality. You've been filtering the present through the pain of your past, right? Projecting limitations into your future and wondering why nothing's changing. Okay, you need to disrupt the pattern and form a new mode of awareness. Okay, because you've been just tolerating bullshit too long. So let's look at it something more radical. You don't need to heal everything before you can start. You just need to stop lying about what's actually killing your spirit. Okay, you need to stop making sense of a life that doesn't fit you anymore, because logic won't save you, but awareness will save you. And the most powerful form of awareness, the one that reconnects you to your purpose, clarity, and direction, that's what we call innocence. Okay, innocence is the bridge to intuition. It's childlike, but not childish. It's not naivety. It's not weakness. It's a clear, clean break from your conditioned mind, so you can finally hear what your deeper intelligence is trying to tell you. And when you reclaim that, you don't tolerate bullshit anymore. You start to create. You don't survive your life. You shape it. You don't just chase purpose. You become it. Okay, and these are the patterns that I've seen in my own life, men that I've worked with, men that I've walked beside. They're doing everything right, and yet something still feels wrong. They've ticked all the boxes, built the businesses, held the job, been the best father, husband. You know, they go to the gym, read the books, done even therapy, but they're still waiting for a moment where everything just clicks, right? That moment of just deep exhale where, you know, they finally find themselves again. Okay, but that moment doesn't come from achievement. It comes from alignment. And if you can't find alignment, your nervous system has been wired to normalize misalignment. Okay? And if you look at the brain, right, you've got the default mode network. It's responsible for your sense of self, your identity, your story, your patterns, your internal narrative. Right? It's the mental script you run in the background. This is who I am. This is what I can expect from life. This is how it always goes for me. But there's a big issue there. That network doesn't update on its own. It just replays what you've told it over and over again, especially during emotional imprinting times in childhood and trauma, which means even your conscious mind wants more, right? Your conscious identity still pulls you towards what's familiar, even if that's stress, scarcity, self-sabotage. It's why men build entire lives around what they think they should, and then wake up 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years later feeling like a stranger inside their own story. And why is this? Because they've just tolerated just enough, disconnection to function, but not enough honesty to transform. And if you're sitting there nodding right now and you feel that tension in your gut, good, because it means that you're waking up. Right? And this could, if you look at what the ancient spiritual wisdom and modern neuroscience both agree on, we have two modes of awareness. Perception, right, which is based on your past experience, your beliefs, your emotional program. It's reactive, it's limited, it seeks safety. Then you have your intuition, your deeper knowing. It's connected to everything through all time and space. It doesn't ask for proof, it just knows. And that's the only place your true purpose can come from. But most men get trapped in perception their entire lives. They confuse their thoughts and feelings with reality. They think that making sense of life is the same as living it. You were born to create. And to create, you need to access something far deeper than your past. Okay? You need to access your superconscious, the realm of creative awareness, unshaped by trauma, untouched by the need to explain or justify. And this is where the state of innocence comes in, right? Innocence is not, ignorance. It's presence without programming, right? It's a return to the part of you that feels your purpose before you can even describe it. It's a state of being where tension dissolves and truth begins to lead. It's the literal condition that helps you rewire your neural pathways to form a new brain, basically, right? To break out of survival mode and into creation mode, right? Because Joe Dispenza, he talks about it, he calls it entering the quantum field. Stephen Kotler calls it flow state. Jesus calls it born again. Okay, we call it innocence, because in that space you are in no sense. And finally free to access what truly matters. No more loops, no more waiting, no more tolerating, just aligned action from a deeper place, okay, that your past cannot touch. This is not soft. This is the most dangerous clarity a man can hold. So, right, how do we step into this new version who stops tolerating? Right, first of all, we have to be aware of what we're tolerating in the first place. So if you want to change your life, you have to identify what you've been putting up with. Most men don't realize how much energy they waste tolerating things that drain them, right? So sit down with yourself, get a notebook, a piece of paper, and ask yourself, what am I tolerating right now in my life? So my relationships, my fitness, my health, my business, my body, my mindset, Every area of your life. Now, I have the 4 areas: fitness, finances, family, and fulfillment, right? So that's the 4 key areas. But in them, so you've got your fitness, which is your body, your family, which is your family and your relationships with your friends, your fulfillment, which is your purpose, and then your finances, which is your money. So you can look at it anywhere. That's 4 areas I would break down, right? And I'd write it all down, no filter, right? What am I tolerating that I should not be tolerating? Okay, because toleration equals resignation. And what you tolerate, you reinforce. Once it's on paper, you've got a map of what needs to change. So what you no longer want to tolerate, you have to start removing that. So you reverse engineer fulfillment. Fulfillment doesn't come in from achieving random goals. It comes from living in alignment with your deepest values and what you value in this world. So ask yourself, where was the last time I felt alive? What was I doing? Who was I with? What was I creating? And can you reverse engineer it? Right? What value was being honored in that moment? Freedom, growth, impact, clarity. Okay, once you have understand, when you've got about 3 to 5 values, start using them as your decision filter. Every action either honors your values or betrays them. Okay, and if you look at your values system and do a value exercise, and you can establish your top 5, 10 core values, and you start to live a life based on them, that's when you start to, move on to the next step, which is kill the old identity. Because your identity isn't fixed, it's chosen. But most men unconsciously build identity around survival, approval, safety, right? And, so what you want to look at your life right now and ask yourself, I'm the kind of man who, finish the sentence 10 times, right? Without thinking too much, I'm the kind of man who, people pleases. I'm the kind of man who handles everything on his own. I'm the kind of man who avoids conflict. I'm the kind of man who puts others first, right? And write down 10 things and then ask yourself, is this the kind of man I want to keep being, right? And then if not, rewrite it. I choose to be the kind of man who walks courageously through life. I'm the kind of man who is the amazing role model for my children. Whatever it is that you choose to be, how do you want to show up in this world? And this is how you update your internal operating system. And you identify this man that you want to become, how you walk, how you talk, how you act, how you respond, how you guide, how you teach. And then you consciously live that man. And the more you live him, the more you become him. Okay, and then look at your life and track your hell yeses and hell nos. You don't need more clarity. You need to stop lying to yourself. So every time you're about to say yes to something, a meeting, a commitment, a favour, ask yourself, is this a hell yes? Or is this a tolerance driven, okay? Track it for 7 days, right? See every hell no that you go along with. That drains your power. Every hell yes that you don't act on disconnects you from your purpose. Right? Your truth is already speaking. Okay, this is a tool that will help you answer it. Right? But in the last one, commit to one aligned action per day. Big life shifts don't happen explosively, right? They happen in micro alignments, tiny actions that line up with who you really are. So, every single day, choose one thing, every day that feels like a stretch, but it's lined. Maybe it's sending a message. Maybe it's having a hard conversation. Maybe it's waking up early. Maybe it's going to the gym. Maybe it's saying no without apology. Maybe it's doing cold water therapy. Maybe it's moving your body like you respect it. Whatever it is, do this daily. Just one aligned action per day. Momentum builds, identity shifts, and fulfillment stops being a concept. It becomes your new baseline. Okay, you have the power, right? You don't need more time. You don't need more advice. You don't need me. You don't need another morning routine book on purpose. You just need a moment of honesty. Because the truth is, the life that you really want is waiting for you. Not out there, not years from now, not after you heal everything from an invisible bandage of worth. It's here right now underneath everything that you've been tolerating. See, the man you were never taught to be, the man who speaks up, chooses boldly, stops apologising, builds from truth, that man doesn't need to be created. He needs to be remembered. And the moment you decide to stop tolerating the tension, the lies, the low standards, masquerading as good enough, that's the moment you stop surviving your life and you start shaping it. Because what you tolerate, you deserve. Not because you're broken, but because you haven't demanded more from yourself. Until now. So make this a line in the sand, the before and after, not someday, not when it's convenient, now. Reclaim your focus, reclaim your voice, reclaim your life, I say, because the man you came here to be, the man your family needs, your future depends on, your soul remembers, is done waiting for permission. You've got the power, you've got the vision, and now you've got the truth. Let's move with it. All right, bro? So listen, just drop in the comments. I no longer tolerate bullshit in my life. Okay? And just pick one thing you're done tolerating. Write it down. Circle it. Start right there. Okay? Take one small aligned action that honours your truth. You don't need to fix your whole life in a day. Okay? It's just taking one step at a time. And lastly, if you want to join me on this journey, hit the subscribe button. I truly love having you guys on this journey with me. This journey is just the beginning. Okay? This channel is, for us men who are coming together, who are cutting out the noise, claiming a life we're built for. Right? So join me, because I do not want to do this alone, and I want you to know that you are not alone. Right? If you've got a brother who's suffering in silence, get this video to him, because maybe this might be the spark that relights his fire. Okay? We didn't come this far to live half-lives. We came here to live fully, and I want to be on this journey with you. So, brother, go for it. You came here to create magic. Now go and create it. I love you, man. Take care, and I'll catch you on the next one. I'll have another video here, and you can subscribe here. Take care.